So you got William Bradford, and then you got Usamakquin. Usamakquin. You got Tadabim, you got Metacomet, you got Sassacus, which means fierce and fearless wild man. Wamsutta, Massasoit, Squanto, Tisquantum, which means divine rage. Divine rage. And what happened to Tisquantum? Well, all his people was killed, and for 6 years he's just going back and forth across the Atlantic. How many times did he get in a slave ship? How many times was he kidnapped so he was supposed to do a bunch of free labor? And then the friars out of Spain rescued him and told him to go to London, and then he found a place to go. He went to fucking Newfoundland, he was in Maine, he was in London, he was in Spain, and then he was in Massachusetts. Those people that hasn't even moved fucking 2 times in their goddamn life. But poor Squanto has to be the most cosmopolitan person ever, and then 1 year after he met the Pilgrims, he's going to die. So they're not Puritans, they're separatists. I'm going to remember, the last thing I just read was about Winslow. And Winslow had talked about his crops. And so you had a good corn crop. You had a really good Indian corn crop. Then the barley was indifferently good. So, right? It was okay, not good, not great. So decent barley, great corn, great Indian corn. And then the peas were fucking crap. The peas were crap. Which is, even if they were great, they'd still be crap. It's like raising green beans. And if I sat you down and smacked the fuck out of you and made you fucking eat peas and green beans, oh, you like green beans, you'd fucking, no you wouldn't. Even if you liked it, you wouldn't accept that fucking behavior. But even if you said, oh, I like peas and green beans, okay, well, here's dog shit. Here's something you don't like to eat. So you have a whole bunch of Native Americans looked at the colonists and said, why are you so shitty to your kids? What the fuck is wrong with you pieces of shit? So you got Tadabim, you got Metacomet, Wamsutta, Massasoit, Squanto, Sassacus. So let's talk about the Wampanoag. The Wampanoag are the people of the first light. The people of the first light. This is Einstein shit. This isn't the first people of the fucking imaginary one true God. The actual one true God is the Great Spirit of ultimate goodness. The Great Spirit comes from Native American culture. Many moons ago, before you all with your concrete teepees, water is the first medicine. So let's talk about the 1621 feast. So what is Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving is a fucking holiday. Abraham Lincoln declared it. FDR declared it. George Washington declared one. And so did James Madison. It's a Christian thing. You have a whole bunch of times when you just give praise and thanks. When you give praise and thanks, well, that's Thanksgiving. Psalms 100. That's Thanksgiving. So when the Pilgrims actually pulled up to the New World, they gave praise. They read Psalms 100. So they've only been there for a year. Half the people just died. 50% of the colonists had died. The Pilgrims, the separatists, not the Puritans. And no, they didn't have no black hats, and no, they didn't have any fucking buckles. Your iconography is wrong. You think that Pilgrims had black hats? They didn't have enough money to buy the black hats. Why would they fucking be all fancy-dancy when they're basically starving to death and dying? They had a big wolfing cough. They had a whooping cough. They had a scurvy. They had, disease. Half of them are going to fucking die, including even Dorothy Bradford. So William Bradford is the main man. Dorothy Bradford. Actually, Carver. John Carver was the governor. The governor's going to die too. So after the governor had died, you had Dorothy Bradford fell overboard. And she's going to die in the freezing cold waters right off the coast of America. She made it. There was one guy, John Howland, who had slipped and fell. He just went outside. Oh, I'm just going to go out to the deck for a second. But it's rainy and it's fucking windy. Oh, I don't give a shit. But we're rocking to and fro. Oh, I don't give a shit. Goes out there, fucking slips and falls, almost overboard, grabs onto a rope and starts yelling until eventually somebody saves him. I want to say that was FDR, fucking JFK. That's like one of the ancestors to the Bushes. Howland, a guy named Howland. So 1621 feast. This is a bright, shining moment. It's just a military alliance, right? They already tried to make a peace treaty earlier in the year. It's a military alliance. You got Massasoit, who again is Usamequin. So Mr. Usamequin, and he just gave birth to Wamsutta. Metacomet's going to be born 15 years later or so. So you had this military alliance, right? That's what the whole thing of 1621, the Thanksgiving feast. It's a bright, shining moment. It is a good part of American history. If you ignore fucking centuries of history, if you don't put it all together, it's like, hey, remember that time all those atrocities happened? Yeah, for hundreds of years. I know, but remember that 3-day feast that we had? Man, that was some wild times, wasn't it? Yeah, it was some wild times. So it's that's a good moment out of history. It is whitewashed, you know? They're taking this one good moment and being like, look, we were kind to the Native Americans. Yeah, in fucking Breckenridge, you had that historian in the Breckenridge who took time off from Thanksgiving and said she didn't give a damn about the Native Americans. I don't think you understand fucking Thanksgiving then. So 1621 Thanksgiving. It's a big feast. So here's how it begins. They were talking about the corn, then the Indian corn. They were talking about how they had decent barley. They were talking about how their peas had sucked. Then they went a-fowling. A-fowling means they went to go shoot some geese and duck. Maybe a pigeon or two. So they're doing some duck hunting. So geese and pigeon and duck hunting. Duck hunting. But was there turkey there? We don't know. But they did go out. Well, they went and got 5 deer. This is the Native Americans. So we're talking about the Pilgrims. So William Bradford and the Pilgrims, half of them died the first winter, but they did okay in the spring. They did okay in the summer. They did okay in the fall. Squanto helped them out. He was one of the last 2 surviving Patuxent. Samoset. Samoset's a badass. He is an Abenaki. And so Samoset, the Abenaki, he walks into the English village completely naked with a loincloth and just a little flap in front of him. And he says, "Welcome, Englishmen." Could you imagine that? A naked Native American coming up to you. You think they're savages, heathens, pagans. You think that they're just wild men, right? Sassacus is fierce and fearless wild man, like Enkidu, a wild man created by the gods in order to conquer Gilgamesh. I know you know what I'm talking about, America. It's what I love about you. So we come up to the fall. It's a fall celebration. It's a fall harvest celebration, which they've had. All these holidays are seasonal. So what are we going to call them? We're going to call them separatists. We're going to call them the Pilgrim separatists. So these Christy-ass motherfuckers, these Pilgrim separatists, they had a good harvest. They picked a bunch of corn. They picked a bunch of Indian corn. Their peas, they left them in the fields. Which that's if that's not divine intervention, if that's not providence, what, the fucking beans and the peas didn't survive? Oh no, what shall we do? What saves Jamestown? Tobacco. What saves a bunch of fucking farms today in America? Marijuana. The Wampanoag are the people of the first land. So you have not the Puritans, you have the separatists. The Pilgrim separatists. So the Pilgrim separatists had a good harvest. They killed a bunch of ducks. And they were excited. And so they were shooting the fucking ducks and the geese. They had all this fucking food. And they just started celebrating by shooting fucking up in the air. Like a bunch of assholes. Just popping their gun off in the air. It's like, goddamn, you just survived the winter. Maybe you shouldn't waste your fucking gunpowder. Maybe not waste your damn bullets. You're definitely not listening to Che Guevara. You gotta save your bullets. So, 1621 Thanksgiving feast. You have the Pilgrims, the separatists, because they said, fuck the Church of England. They're not Catholics, they're not the Church of England, they're going to create their own Christian denomination. They're going to be inspired by the Holy Spirit. They're going to read the Bible for themselves, and they're going to interpret the Bible for themselves. Which is different from the Puritans in Massachusetts Bay Colony. We're talking about Plymouth Colony, Plymouth plantations. So they just had the celebration. They just had good corn, good Indian corn, decent barley. shitty fucking peas. They're shooting some ducks, shooting some geese. They're shooting up in the air. Well, the Wampanoag, they've been getting fucking shot up. They've been getting disease. Their children have been getting kidnapped by the British ships. It was Squanto. He got kidnapped 2 times by the fucking English. So Squanto, it wasn't 1619 project. That shit happened 5-6 years before 1619. That happened in 1613. So you have the Pilgrim separatists. They're shooting their guns up in the air. Pow, pow, pow. They're excited. They got all this fucking bounty. They got all this fucking loot. They got a nice crop. They produced good crops. They used the fish to fertilize. Squanto showed them where to hunt the beaver. Squanto showed how to raise the crops. And they did a good job. They did a good job. So they're excited. They're shooting guns off. Well, the Wampanoag are a little bit uneasy about this. They're a little scared. They know what the pale-faced motherfuckers can do. They've been having to deal with the Dutch. They've been having to deal with the Swedes. Even Latvia. Latvia is going to colonize Tobago. And why they keep sending all of them to Bermuda? Oh, why don't you just capture some Native Americans and send them to Bermuda? Is that what it means about the Bermuda Triangle? And the West Indies. Why are all these damn ships just fucking... Well, I guess you get 220 shillings per person that you kidnap. So the Wampanoag are nervous. They're hearing a bunch of gunshots. They think it's a battle. They think that they're at war with somebody. So they grab 90 warriors. You got 90 Wampanoags. This is Massasoit. Chief Massasoit means chief. And then Usamiquin. That's his name. Say his name. Usamiquin. So Usamiquin comes up with 90 Native American warriors. And they're like, hey, Englishmen, what the fuck is up? You separatist assholes. Huh? What are you doing, you pilgrims, you frontiersmen, you goddamn pioneers? Oh, what, you're the first ones here, huh? The Wampanoag had been living in the Patuxent lands and in Massachusetts for 10,000 years. So they're about as old as the Kennewick man. They're about as old as Eve out of Mexico, that skeleton that they found out there. Hell, the Native Americans have been populating Turtle Island for the past 14,000 to maybe even 25,000 years. I think that land bridge shit is bullshit. They came by boats, motherfucker. How the fuck else would you explain how they got to South America? Like I said, there's people that haven't even moved fucking twice in their goddamn lives. Oh, you've lived in 2 different spots? That must have been really fucking tough. And you're sitting there expecting what? People from 14,000 years ago to get on their fucking planes and trains and cars and fucking migrate all over the goddamn world? They got a boat. They came over to South America. When they got to South America, where they landed is where they landed. And then those are the people that populated. So there was probably one group of people that populated all of the Americas. The Wampanoag have been around for 10,000 years. And they've been doing good. Here's a statistic you don't know about. Before the European colonists got to, you had the French, you had the Spanish, even the Swedes had somebody. Even Latvia took over Tobago. The Pope had some people. The Dominican friars. Basically, all these European assholes, anybody that had any money was like, let's go to the New World and colonize all these people. Columbus was like, they're so nice and trusting. It would be easy to enslave them all. Columbus is eventually going to kill 500,000 of the people of Dominican Republic, Hispaniola. What were those people called? That is awful. Why can't I remember what those people were called? The Native Americans of Hispaniola, which is Haiti, Dominican Republic today. El Salvador, isn't that where he landed? So the people of the First Light, they had 70,000 people that lived in the Patuxent lands. They had 66 to 69 villages. That was before the European paleface came up. 70,000 people lived there. 70,000 people. That's just like, my God, this county here has 8,000 people. So that would be like this county that I live in multiplied by fucking 10. So they had 70 villages. 70 villages. Well, there's not even 70 villages in this goddamn county. So the people of the First Light, the Wampanoag, had 70,000 people. They had almost 70 villages. And then 2/3 of them are going to get decimated by disease. Imagine that, being a fucking warrior, being a fucking strong-ass brave. You're fucking courageous, you're strong, you know, you're confident, you speak with confidence, and you're ready to engage in battle if somebody fucks with you. You got a peaceful disposition, but if they lay their hands on you, then you send them to the cemetery. They were Malcolm X before Malcolm X. 2/3 of the Wampanoag wiped out! Wiped out! By disease, we want to, not outright murder and fucking slavery. I'm sure that played a part too. Look at the Mystic River Massacre, which I'll get to in a second. But we're talking about the feast. It's a bright, shining moment. So let's talk about how the feast was good. You got 90 Wampanoag that confronts 50 of the separatists, of the Pilgrims, who were not Puritans. And they said, what the hell are you assholes doing, popping your guns off like that? You give us a scare, you know? We about to shit our britches. Ah, shit, there's another fucking war going on. We're tired of the damn wars. And the Englishmen, the separatists, the Pilgrims say, hey, chill out, guy. We just had a good harvest. Our corn did good, our Indian corn did good. Everything that Squanto had taught us, it turned out to be really good. Welcome, Englishmen, Samoset said, nearly completely naked. Samoset just walks in the village. Welcome, Englishmen. Holy shit. Not only is he not a heathen, savage pagan, but he knows our fucking language. How in the hell? And then they spent the night with him. He asked for beer. And they gave him pudding. They gave him cheese and butter. And something called hard water, strong water. So they knew how to make pudding. They knew how to make butter and cheese. How they had butter and cheese? So the saints, the Pilgrims, like to call themselves saints because they were separating from the Church of England because, you know, King Henry VIII was fucking all those women and then chopping everybody's... He got sick of the Queen, and then the Pope wouldn't give him an annulment, so he just chopped her head off on some bullshit criminal charges. Threw some trumped up criminal charges, right? He went ahead and weaponized the DOJ and threw a bunch of bullshit criminal charges on them and got their heads chopped off. He says, fuck the Pope, I'm going to form the Church of England, and the separatist is like, no, fuck you. We're not going to do the Church of England. We're not going to do the Pope shit. We're going to do our own stuff. And so these Christy-ass religious motherfuckers, you know, in some respects, as much as I hate to admit it, they were pretty fucking brave. Half of them are going to starve, freeze, die, going to the New World. Not of any fault of the damn elements of the New World, but just the fucking boat over here. Just the Mayflower. A lot of them are going to die on the Mayflower, and they're going to die the first winter, lack of planning. They went ahead and established themselves in Massachusetts during the beginning of winter. I'm thinking about moving to America. We're up north somewhere where it's really cold. Oh, when are you going to move up there? The beginning of winter. The beginning of winter? How are you going to grow crops? How are you going to catch any animals? How are you going to live and survive? They were cannibals in Jamestown, and it would seem kind of crazy if they were starving and dying, and then hell, that might have given more disease. I haven't read any first-hand accounts of cannibalism, but 50 out of 100 of them died. And then half the staff died, which I don't even know why we say a different number for the staff. The 25 fucking Navy men, the people that ran the ship. Half of them died, half of the damn Pilgrims died the first fucking winter. So let's get back to the feast. Get back on track. Okay, so now the Wampanoag, they've been put at ease. They came there, they found out it was just a celebration. They're just popping their guns off because it was a big celebration. And they go out and they get 5 white-tailed deer. And they bring 5 white-tailed deer to the fucking party. I mean, my God, they are the goddamn party. And then they feasted for 3 days. Now, what did they have exactly? We don't know. We can only speculate. But they had, you know, the things that were raised, the things that they raised. Corn, Indian corn, all that. Probably the same butter and cheese and all the shit that they gave to Samoset. You had chocolate and vanilla and pineapple in the Americas, but I'm not sure if they knew how to passion fruit. But they had walnuts, they had peanuts, pecans, pecan. He-Man, she damn. What? She damn. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you do. So you got this separatist, and you got this nice feast, and for 3 days, you know, it was basically a party of mutual alliance. So for 3 days, they were just nice to each other. They had a military alliance. The Wampanoag were running up against the Narragansett, and then the Pilgrims, well, they were up against everybody, right? So, Massasoit, Chief Usamequin is going to forge a peace treaty that's going to last for 40 to 50 years. And it's going to be great for the damn Wampanoag and the Pilgrims, the separatists, not the Puritans, not buckles. They had no buckles. They didn't have black hat on their heads. Get that iconography out of your head. Read the primary source documents. Because it all comes from that 1621 Thanksgiving feast. And it wasn't even technically Thanksgiving. They didn't pray Thanksgiving. It wasn't official Thanksgiving. But that's what we're talking about when we celebrate Thanksgiving. So today when we have a cornucopia of food, it's because of that 3-day feast. They had sports. I want to say they drank liquor. So they're running, they're playing, they're enjoying each other's company. It's 90 versus 50. So in a way, the Englishmen kind of got taken over. They kind of got shook down. But they had been kind of on peaceful terms for months now. And then that's it. That's it. It's just basically like a paragraph out of all their experiences. They just wrote a little paragraph about how they had a decent moment with the Wampanoag. So I want to sit on this goodness and savor it for a while because a lot of it's going to turn out really, really bad. And it's going to turn out really, really bad quickly. And I should just start spouting off facts because I only got less than 7 minutes to. So, one bright shining moment, right? This is like when Bernie Sanders won 3 primaries in a row. This is like when George McGovern was the Democratic nominee in 1972. This is when like Lincoln got elected or FDR got elected. Even fucking Washington after the Bill of Rights was passed. With the Bill of Rights, okay, now the revolution makes sense. Now we actually got something revolutionary here. So let's spout off some facts. 13,000 years ago, 13,600 years ago, you had Eve of Naharon, who had lived and died in Mexico. Native Americans have been here for 14,000, 10,000, 25,000 years, and they came here by boat. They came here by boat. That's how we broke out of Africa 50,000 years ago. And then that damn Lucy skeleton in Africa was 3.2 million years. Right? Evolution. We started out as a fucking amoeba, a fucking bacteria. We turned into a fish, and then we turned into a goddamn cat. Then we turned into a dog. Then we turned into an orangutan, a chimpanzee, a gorilla. And then we became man. And then we had consciousness. And then we had language. And because we had consciousness and language, we got in our boats and we crossed the Mediterranean, populated the Middle East, populated Europe, populated Asia, and then eventually we populated the Americas. The Dutch, the Portuguese, the Pope, the Jesuits, these are all imperialists. Russians, the French, the Swedish, Dominican friars, the Italians. You had a whole bunch of European nations that wanted to conquer the New World. Take whatever was lying around. Find the gold and silver and become fucking rich. The Norsemen, the Spanish, even Latvia colonized Tobago. 1619, Squanto returns to the Patuxent lands. Squanto's divine rage, he was kidnapped in 1613. He went to Spain on a British ship, and the friars, the Catholic friars, hid him and secreted him away to London, England, and then he's going to find another guy, he finds another guy, and then he's going to come back to Newfoundland. And then eventually comes back to Patuxent and sees that all of his people are dead. Samoset says, "Welcome, Englishman." He was from Maine. He was at Abenaki. What do you mean?